Let me get started with an event that occurred this week that affects women in trucking and drivers alike. If you don't know a whole bunch about trucking, I guess what I would like to point out is the American Trucking Association is sort of the granddaddy of trucking that represents trucking. Like I said in my earlier videos, the industry and the drivers are not on the same page. If you ask a veteran driver about the industry or the ATA, they call it the Anti-Trucker Association or the Un-American Trucking Association. So that should be a hint. To help you understand a little bit further, the ATA is to truckers what Ronald McDonald is to cows. So Ronald McDonald is really pleasant and he makes you smile, but is he an advocate for cows? He needs cows, but he's not an advocate for cows. So hopefully that clears it up for you. Then we have women in trucking. Now, we would like to believe that all women are looking out for other women, but are they? No, they're not. Ellen Voy does not drive trucks. Ellen Voy wrote a book about going to CDL school, and she flunked her driving test and then wrote a book about going to CDL school. As we covered in earlier videos, CDL school is not your problem in becoming a trucker. Training is. Most of the sponsors of women in trucking are carriers or private fleets that require a good deal of experience in order to be employed from them. Therefore, there's a huge part of the puzzle missing. Yes or no? Now, there are a few training carriers who do sponsor women in trucking, and some of them are engaged in some litigation about the way they have treated female students in the past, or they have recently emerged from such litigation. Now, there is a pattern, and if you look into it, you will see what I'm talking about. But let's move on. If you look at the board of directors of women in trucking, almost everyone on that board is ATA. So, if you're a driver, does the ATA support or advocate for drivers? No, they don't. They're looking out for the carrier's interest. They are looking out for the bottom line. They're looking out for profit. And trucking is rife with driver abuse. This week, of all of the issues that are affecting drivers with CSA 2010, with poor training, with driver abuse, with safety issues, with women who have been abused during their training period, we have not been able to get Ellen Voy to take any sort of action. We've had a number of blow-offs. We've had a number of responses that say she's doing something and she never delivers. When I saw the commercial for the salute to women truckers, yes, indeed, Ellen, you should be saluting women truckers. You should. I was at the salute to the women behind the wheel, and I met some of the top honorees, and I will tell you this. The people that are pictured in that photograph, not all of them are members. They were misled into that photograph. Many of those people just went there for a free t-shirt. Credentials were not checked. CDLs were not checked. There are people in that picture that may or may not be drivers. There are people in that picture who may or may not have a valid CDL. There's people in that picture that did not know that their photograph was going to be used for promotional materials for women in trucking. This week, Ellen Voy posted a comment or a request, which I've seen her do before, searching for information. And she says that she is interested in anything that the drivers can share to her to get the government to change the testing method from urine collection to hair sample analysis, because she states that it's a gender-neutral way of testing for drug use, and she's in search of drug testing stories involving urine collection and women to tell about their issues when being tested by their carrier on the road. Of all the issues that affect women truckers, this is what she gets on a platform for. Ellen, this is what we urinate in almost every day when we're truckers, if you're a girl. If you were a trucker, you would know that. Therefore, it's not gender biased to ask somebody to urinate for a drug test. If my carrier asked me to urinate every single day in a container to drug test me, I would not have a problem with it. Asking the government to get involved to do hair sample testing for urinalysis is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous way to represent women. It makes women look foolish and stupid. There's other products that people use to urinate on the road. This is a Go Girl. It's a funnel. And of course, the men use a bottle. So if you're a trucker, you have to learn that you're never, hardly ever, going to be able to use a bathroom in private ever again. When you get your urine tested for drugs, when you go to a carrier, you have to stand in line with everyone else, and they give you the container and they tell you not to flush the toilet. Now, anybody that's gone to the doctor for an infection, or they have any sort of medical problems, or they're pregnant or anything else, has had to have a urine test. If you find that offensive, then you find being a human being offensive. I mean, seriously. Hair collection is extremely expensive. Carriers are looking to save money, not spend money. It's not gender neutral. It's actually more gender biased because women have longer hair. Men can shave their heads. If they did that, that would leave pubic areas to collect hair from. So, there was somebody that posted later that said that they had heard of a situation several years ago where some DOT officers brought in groups of truckers and made them take drug tests right there, right then, and there was no female officer present for the female drivers. That was several years ago. Everything you hear about trucking, you have to put it in. While the story may help you be a little bit relevant to find out where we can go in the future, it's not always relevant to what's going on today. With social media, these things can be exposed. This is what my perception is. If somebody actually has complained about a supervised urine test to Ellen Voie, one, I would find it alarming that she's taking action, because I know for a fact she's been approached about several things she's done absolutely nothing about except to make the offending carrier a sponsor after she heard the report. My first impression when I heard this story was that she had some sort of exclusive deal that she's trying to iron out and she's trying to manipulate. That's my opinion of this situation. But let's give the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that a woman did have some supervised urine test that was offensive to her. From what my understanding is, if you're supervised while you drop urine for a drug test, it's because you have dropped a dirty in the past. Therefore, the situation for you to be supervised is different than for everyone else. So the entire person's history should be taken into account before you start trying to go do some across-the-board government intervention. The next thing is, if somebody is doing this at a carrier, at a drug lab, at a chain of drug labs, at a chain of carriers, terminals, DOT officers, it is not unheard of for people to bring their sexual perversion to work. It is not unheard of for people to put hidden cameras in bathrooms, in showers. And we live in a world now where people do some very unusual things, and they take advantage of the fact that they have women undressing or that they can manipulate them. Which goes back to the training, where I've been taking it to Ellen Voie to say, address the training situation. These are women that are put into a training, isolated, unsupervised situation with people on a power trip in-house as well that cover it up. That's an issue. Students that have reported to me, or women drivers who have reported to me having to drive with a trainer who handed them a cup or a bottle and said, we don't stop, you pee in this. Okay, that's okay when you're by yourself, but when you're with a total stranger that you've never ever met before and you live in a closet together, you're supposed to pee in the bottle? How? The can. Ellen, how would you feel if I handed you this can right now and said, me and you are going to be in a closet together for a month and you're going to pee in this can? You hear me? That's offensive. Let's try and take this into context. It is absolutely ridiculous to make this an issue. I wrote a letter to Ellen Voie, and I don't expect for her to respond to it, but maybe she will. I know that men and women drivers were outraged that she found this to be an issue. Ellen does not explain how you get from her CDL book to Frito-Lay, Walmart, Conway,